So if you're a hater, you're going to absolutely love this video. You're going to want to share it with all your other hater friends because I'm going to give you something to chew on right now. All right, so I'm not gonna lie, there are two ways that you can lose money in junior mining stocks like nothing I've seen before. Doug agrees with me. He has felt the pain of having to eat poor quality dog food because of my bad decisions in stocks. So let me tell you what these two different ways of losing money are. One of them is that you clearly ignore the red flags. So let's take, for instance, you buy into a hot stock that is on the cusp of making a discovery, but what they have so far is something like chip sampling, channel sampling. I've fallen for that before. And it's all looking really interesting, but then, they raise the money. You probably buy at the raise, or you buy it at an expensive enough price point where you kind of need a discovery to make it work. And there's only one project, and like that is your one shot. And then what happens if they drill the stuff out and they get complete dusters? Okay, this happened to me before. I remember one time specifically, I think the stock went down 80% in one day because everybody was making this one bet that this deposit was going to be similar to another one close by. And it turned out to be a complete dud, at least in the targets that they were looking at. They eventually dropped the project, so it was really a no-go for those guys. But maybe you're looking at, a later stage development company and they have delays. The locals start protesting. There are costs overrun everywhere. And maybe management starts to sell the stock. Or maybe you see that the timing of your entry just makes it impossible for there to be any value creation going forward. And so if you ignore these red flags, especially if you make the mistake of going to meet these people in person, or you just take a liking to the management team and you think they're good people, this is my pet peeve. Knowing that the management team is well-intentioned does not mean that they are competent. And even if they're competent, it doesn't mean that that one particular stock is their one home run, okay? Even if you take the big guys in mining, I mean, pick anybody, Bob Quartermain, Robert Friedland, just anybody, okay? Anybody who's anybody in the industry, in the top run management team, the likes of Frank Juster and all, they will show you just a pretty long list of initial failures that they had. And not all of their companies are a great hit. I mean, look at Marco Day, for goodness sake. I really want Marco Day to come out of retirement and have another run at it, man. If you were honest with your last play, then come back for it, because you had lots of success and one big failure, and then you retired. I mean, I hope this message gets out to him, because really this industry needs good people. But sometimes what you do is you make your bet on the management team and then it just doesn't work out. And you think that because they've had such a good track record that they have to hit a home run when you buy it. I did this with Equinox Gold, okay? So I bought it because of Ross Beatty, and then they had problems, and then problems and more problems, and they started to agglomerate a bunch of different projects, and it was just as they grew the company, the stock didn't really go anywhere. What's the point? Okay, which brings me to this one point. Ignoring the red flags is how you lose money in the junior mining industry, but that's only one way. There is a second way, which is really the focus of this video, and one I must warn you about. Okay, there is a class of individual in this business that tend to think they are intellectuals of a higher kind. They're like God-sent creatures, and they are extremely technical. They're either geology lovers or geologists. They have a mind for engineering, or they're actual engineers. They've been around the block for over a decade. They have seen all there is to see in the business. They have seen all the scams, and they've decided that everybody that they don't like is a scammer. Okay. Now, some of these guys are just straight up losers. Okay. As in, they end up picking bad companies because they conflate two things that seem like they're the same thing, but they're not. And when it comes to this industry in particular, this really makes a difference. You ready for it? If you conflate a good project or a good business with a good stock and you don't believe there's a difference in them, my gosh, are you ever going to miss out and possibly lose money? So I'll give it to you. If you find an early stage project that has massive potential, your chances are you're going to make really great money. I'm all for that. Go for it. But sometimes the project isn't great and the management team has people that are unsavory to those technical guys, those intellectuals, and they make it their life to go and tell you what you should do with your money, which is, by the way, don't invest in those guys. Okay. Now, pretty much all of my biggest gains in this business have come from directly investing in guys that were called out for being rude, scammers. I love, the tag scammers because it never comes with actual proof. And if somebody's pump and dumping, show me proof, and I'll go all out and cut ties with them and not invest in them. But there is a lot to be said about management teams that make a stock go up and management teams that make a project amazing. For instance, in 2000 and I think it was 17 or 18, I bought a company called Western Uranium. Now, there are many people who didn't like the CEO, who shall remain unnamed for many different reasons. Now, I give them full credit. Turns out they were right in what they were complaining about. And I had to see it for myself. But while I saw it for myself, I saw the ingredients of a great stock that made me an easy triple. It had the right ingredients for a stock. Sometimes you have the right ingredients for a stock and not for a great company. Sometimes you have the right ingredients for a great company and not for a stock because they don't promote the company. Nobody knows about it. The timing is off. It's a weird polymetallic, project that nobody cares about in a region nobody cares about. Could be all of those things. And then I got into a fight with somebody who told me not to invest in another company because they didn't like the management, because the guy was a scammer and because he done this, that, and the other. And I looked at this guy's track record and I'm like, guy knows how to make the stock go up. Now, I don't know what makes a good management team in your eyes, but to me, if I'm buying a stock and the person is good at making the price go up, that is one very strong ingredient for me to buy, not sell. Now, I did what I did with Western Uranium. This was Encore Energy at 6.5 cents, and I bought. Don't get me wrong, they had a point when they said, these projects aren't good. They weren't good. The management team has tainted past. It's true. They weren't likable. Very true. And yet they did the right thing. They conserved cash at the bottom of the cycle. They raised money at the top. They bought and negotiated much better projects. They moved them forward. They modify the whole structure of the company to have the right people at the right time. And now they are this close to actually being a uranium producer, which in the US, who else has been able to do this in the last 10 years? Like the so-called bad management team, huh? And then there's people that come out and say, well, you shouldn't be associating with this company because, that person is like this, that, and the other, and everybody hates them. And, Santa hates them and they're getting clothes for Christmas. Do they make the stock go up? Look, people are going to come at you and they're going to think that they have a right to dictate your wealth creation process and that of your family. Do not submit yourself to that line of thinking. It is evil. It is stupid. And it's really patronizing. So if you find a stock that's a tiny little nano cap nobody believes in, but you think it's an easy triple, you buy that stuff. If that's what you like, if that's what you think is cheap, You know, your triple might do a lot better than their awesome new gold discovery. That might be a double in 2 years. I don't know. But just remember, if you're looking for gains, capital gains in the stock market, you're going to have to look at the likelihood of you making a bet that your stocks are going to go up more so that they're going to be diluted. That's your decision. And if you think the management is hated but gets the job done, and the job is not, hate to say this, it's not to advance the project geologically. It's not to bring anything into production. It's not to sell the project to a major. Okay. Those are ideally what would happen in a great industry. This is not a great industry. If you want a great industry, go into services, go into accounting, go into tech, go into a bunch of other things that actually make money, maybe with small margins, but I don't know, agro or manufacturing. There's a lot of stuff that makes money out there. Medical services, that makes a lot of money. Okay. Aerospace, there's just a bunch of stuff out there that can make you a lot of money. If you're dealing with mining, if you're dealing with a stock, you better figure out how that stock is going to go up. And sometimes it is through bad management teams that are hated. They are people who you would not want to be friends with. They are people who have made a reputation for themselves for being too crass, for, you know, doing all sorts of things that your pastor or minister would not approve of. But then again, if you're looking for saints, then you should go to church. You should open up your Bible and you should look to Jesus if you're looking for a saint. That's it. The only man who committed no sin. If your job is to find out where to make the next 10-bagger, you're going to have to look at companies that you're going to have to hold your nose a little bit and think, I think I can make an easy double here. That's up to you. Only you can make that decision. But by the way, if you're like me, you love the nano caps, you're looking at tiny little companies that are flying completely under the radar that you think might actually turn out to be easy triples. Who knows? Then I would recommend one I am super biased about. Up here, you can take a look at this one when I interviewed the CEO. I'm biased on many levels. You're going to understand why when you see this, but I hope that you understand why I'm very happy to talk about it at this point for a very specific reason. So you can go figure that out. Take care. Don't forget, it's your money. Don't let them fool you into sense. Don't let them fool you into believing stuff that you shouldn't. Only you pay your own bills. Take care.